Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you all for joining us for this edition of the GMF webinar series. On a monthly basis, we host a webinar featuring a new topic relevant to GMF programs. Today, we are excited to use this time to explore the Community Efficiency Financing Initiative, or CEF for short. We'll be using CEF throughout the webinar. CEF helps municipalities across Canada reach their environmental goals, bring jobs to their community, and build better lives. We do this by helping municipalities deliver home energy upgrade financing programs for low-rise residential properties. Today, you'll hear directly from people who are designing and implementing those programs. They will share the real-world impact of the CEF initiative, as well as highlighting the economic, social, and environmental impacts. My name is Stéphane Pressot, and I am a project officer with the capacity development team at FCM's Green Municipal Fund. I'm also joined today by my colleague Jesse Granger from the Green Municipal Fund's capacity development team, who will help us in the back end if anyone needs any technical support. As an organization, the FCM endeavors to unlearn colonial mindsets and practices, grow in knowledge, and adapt to ways of working. As we continue to build meaningful relationships, we recognize the historic and ongoing contributions of Indigenous peoples in Canada and all over the world. We honor their leadership and partnership in shaping and strengthening communities across the country. With that, I want to take a moment of gratitude for the resources and everything that the Creator has provided for us and that has been stewarded by the Indigenous custodians of this land since time immemorial. And as we reflect upon our relationship to the climate, to the earth, to the land, and to the water, I'd like to take a moment as well to invite you to reflect about how you are embracing reconciliation and unlearning those colonial mindsets. Forward to our discussion. Today's webinar aims to highlight the economic, social, and environmental impacts of CEF and share stories on how funded programs are creating triple bottom line benefits for communities. After a brief overview of the Green Municipal Fund and the Community Efficiency Financing Initiative, we'll hear two joint presentations that will explore how each program is transforming people's lives. We'll kick things off with Leon DeVried from the town of Bridgewater, Nova Scotia, and Katie Giles from the Clean Foundation, who will be speaking about how their program uses energy efficiency financing to reduce energy poverty. They will be followed by Stephen Otani from Alberta Municipalities and Jordan Carrier from the City of Calgary, who will be explaining why innovative low-carbon financing is transforming the lives of Calgary homeowners. We'll have a post-session survey at the end of this webinar, so I highly encourage you to take a few minutes to complete that and let us know how we did meeting these objectives, as well as about any additional questions or recommendations you have. So I'd like to give you a short introduction to our work here at the FCM's Green Municipal Fund. The FCM has been the national voice of municipal governments since 1901, representing more than 90% of Canadians. We bring local priorities to the national agenda, and together with municipalities, we're securing historic federal investments in communities of all sizes. Our largest program is the Green Municipal Fund, a $1.6 billion program funded by the Government of Canada to support municipal efforts in pushing forward innovative sustainable development. Since 2000, GMS has funded many bold municipal initiatives. Other outcomes include sharing lessons learned across the country, creating much needed resources, and bringing new environmental solutions to light. The fund is open to municipalities and their partners across Canada, large and small, in every province and territory. Now, CEF, the Community Efficiency Financing, is one of GMF's initiatives. CEF helps municipalities deliver energy financing programs for low-rise residential properties. Property assessed clean energy, PACE, utility on-bill financing, and third-party lending partnerships are just some of the examples of financing models used by municipalities delivering residential energy programming. Local financing programs are important too that municipalities are an important tool for municipalities to help to reach their climate targets by improving the energy performance of households. Access to financing not only provides residents with an opportunity for energy and cost savings in their homes, but also removes common barriers that they face when taking on home energy retrofits. So with that, I'd like to turn the floor to Katie Giles, Senior Manager at Clean Foundation. Over to you, Katie.
Thank you so much. Can move to the next slide there, please. So thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Katie Giles. I'm a senior manager in the energy department at Clean Foundation, and I'm going to speak today about our clean energy financing program. Next slide. So a little bit about Clean Foundation in case you aren't familiar with us. You may or may not have heard of us referred to as Clean Nova Scotia Foundation. We're a program delivery nonprofit organization, and we've been around since about 1988. We're trying to help communities in which we work make real progress towards a cleaner future by taking on climate challenges. Our main office is within Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, but we have offices in Sydney, and we also work in Prince Edward Island, but we work in other provinces as well. We're always happy to collaborate and work with others where we can. The clean energy team itself, we're involved in a wide range of energy efficiency related programs, energy poverty reduction, clean energy promotion, and workforce training initiatives. And if you want to learn more about all of the departments at Clean and what we do, please visit our website. I think I have it linked at the end, but if not, it's just cleanfoundation.ca. We'll go to the next slide, please. So a little background on why the clean energy financing program got started. So we realized that homeowners are facing different challenges when it comes to wanting to do clean energy upgrades and being able to complete them. So some of those challenges include not knowing enough about their energy consumption. A lot of homeowners are just not aware of how to figure out they might realize their energy consumption is looking high, looking at their power bill, but they don't know how they can figure out what is affecting that energy consumption. They don't know what the most cost-effective energy efficiency measures are. So for example, we saw a lot of interest in windows and doors, where the payback may not be as high as some other upgrades. Also knowing what order to complete upgrades in that makes the most sense, so that you're not, purchasing things like a heat pump that might be oversized for your home when you should have insulated first. Market confusion. So there's a lot of programs out there offering help to homeowners. That is absolutely fantastic. And in Nova Scotia, we're very lucky to have several programs available, but it does make it difficult for homeowners to navigate their way through what they may or may not have participated in the past and how to apply to those programs. And then a few more barriers with a bit more of a social equity lens. So we know homeowners may not have access to money for the upgrades up front, and that is required by a lot of the programs that are out there, both rebate and financing programs. Social funding for cleaner energy is not sufficient. So, we'd love to see more programs out there where, upgrades can be done for free, etc. Life is, of course, a challenge for most people, finding the time, the space in your day to actually look into these things. You might pick up an application somewhere, but it's just going to sit, on a counter for a few months. And then all of a sudden you'll be like, oh, right, that program I heard about, I really wanted to apply to that. There's a lot of scams out there right now, so people don't know who to trust or to talk to. And then perceptions of affordability. So, some of the larger upgrades, for example, those heat pumps and solar can seem out of reach to people based on the perception of how affordable they are. Next slide. So clean energy financing is our version of a PACE program, which stands for Property Assessed Clean Energy. The program is offering low interest financing for clean energy upgrades, and that financing is attached to homeowners' property tax accounts. And we can move on to the next slide. So what Clean's doing is acting as a program administrator on behalf of the municipalities we work with. So we currently work with 12 municipalities. So we wanted the program to be pretty much turnkey, and we provide the majority of the admin work. So you'll see various steps of the program there from registration through to completion. with Clean providing the work for the majority of those, there's a couple steps in there where the municipality needs to support us. So they need to complete the arrears check after the homeowner registers. There is, during the customer agreement process, they do sign a version of the customer agreement, but we take care of getting that signature from the homeowner and the back and forth of the document. All homeowners have a home energy assessment. There's a debt to savings ratio where quotes are assessed, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Contractor work is completed and invoices come directly to Clean. Clean pays the contractors and then bills the municipality for work completed. And then once all of the upgrades have been finalized, the municipality would begin to bill the homeowner monthly, so they take the file over from there. And next slide, please. So who are we looking to target with clean energy financing? The program is open to anyone who is interested and meets the eligibility criteria. But that said, we find in Nova Scotia, our clean energy financing program fits into a nice middle ground between two of the other available programs out there. So in Nova Scotia, we have the home warming program, offering free home energy assessments to homeowners with the potential for upgrades depending on how efficient their home already is. And those are free as well. And that's based on income level. And then there's the home energy assessment program, where homeowners can access rebates, but they have to have the upfront capital to be able to pay for the upgrades themselves. So clean energy financing fits in that middle gap. People that are interested in making those upgrades, but may not have that upfront capital. So again, it's low interest financing. The fee itself includes the cost of their home energy assessment. We provide tailored upgrade advice to the homeowners and make sure that they're eligible for provincial and any federal incentives that are available to them. Next slide. So in order to access the program, you need to own a single detached, semi-detached, or row house, live in one of the 12 participating municipalities, and have no municipal arrears owing. We do have one participating municipality that performs a credit check, but for the most part, the municipalities are all feeling comfortable with just that check on the municipal arrears. The program is affordable, so it's a low interest rate, over 10 to 15 years. That varies by municipality. Each municipality can customize the program to meet their needs. The money saved through energy upgrades meets or exceeds the cost of financing. And the investment pays for itself over the payback period. I'll touch on that in a minute. And then our expertise, we recommend upgrades based on an NRCan home energy assessment, and every home is evaluated by a certified energy advisor. And they're there throughout the process to provide the homeowners with advice and feedback. Next slide, please. So I touched briefly before on the one-to-one debt to savings ratio when talking about the affordability of the program. So the intent, again, is for the cost of the upgrades themselves, program fees, as well as the cost of borrowing to be equal to or less than the estimated energy savings over the financing period. And that should say energy cost savings, actually. So we only want to finance an upgrade or a package of upgrades that meets the estimated debt to savings ratio. So what we're looking to do is make customers hopefully cash flow neutral or even cash flow positive during the time period that they're paying off their financing. So we do that using information from their home energy assessment itself. So, but we all know HOT 2000 make some assumptions about how homeowners live in their home. So that software is software used through NRCan for the audit, and it's used generally to compare houses to other houses. So they use some averages in the background. 3 people live in the home, every room in the home is heated to 21 degrees, etc. So what we do is we have a bit more of an in-depth conversation with the homeowner. We also collect their energy bills and their fuel bills. And we're going to do a bit more of an analysis based on the way that they're actually using the home, how many people live there, are they only heating one floor, that kind of thing. So we do offer program and rebate stacking. So there's incentives through home energy assessment, OPA and moderate income, and the home warming program. It's also stackable with the CMHC loan. And in some of the municipalities who received funding through Federation of Canadian Municipalities, there's an additional greenhouse gas emissions retrofit incentive. And I'm seeing I only have a minute left, so I'm going to go quickly through the next few slides. Here's a list of potential upgrades, things like insulation, draft ceiling, windows, heat pumps, solar, and what we call enabling upgrades. So things like getting your panel upgraded if it wasn't large enough, for example, to support a heat pump. Next slide. So the program itself launched in July 2016, but with the funding from the Federation, we were able to expand the program. We added a couple additional municipalities. Some of the participating municipalities were also able to offer a lot more financing, so they're able to target a lot more homeowners. And there's a few more stats there about the program, but I won't read through all those right now. Next slide. So Leon's going to talk about the Energized Bridgewater program. And these are some stats specific to Bridgewater itself. 60 files completed since 2016, 38 of those since 2021. Payback periods, an average of 8.1 years. So we're seeing homeowners well within that debt to savings ratio, and average yearly cost savings of $2,018. Next slide. This slide has some participant feedback on there. Again, I'm out of time, so I'm not going to read through all that, but it'll be there to see when the slides get shared. And I think that's the last one. Yeah, my contact information's there if anyone wants to know more. We also have a website, novascotiapace.ca, which talks about not only our clean energy financing program, but other PACE programs in Nova Scotia. And with that, I thank everyone for joining us today and pass it over to you, Leon.
Thanks very much, Katie, and thank you folks at FCM for giving us a chance to speak a little bit about our program here in Nova Scotia. So I'm going to build on some of the narrative that Katie provided. That was really helpful background in how the fundamentals of our PACE or CEF program work. But we're going to take it just a step further through some of the specific applications here in Bridgewater, where we are trying to use the programming in order to make a measurable improvement in our community's energy poverty rate. So next slide, please. So I didn't quite introduce myself, but I'm Leon DeVried. I work as a planner at the town of Bridgewater, which has a population of about 9,000. So it's a fairly small community, but one that punches, I hope, above its weight from an energy emissions and access to energy perspective. Next slide, please. So our community has set an ambitious goal of reducing the energy poverty rate. I'm going to say a little bit more about energy poverty in a second, but in 2019, our council committed to creating systemic solutions to the problem of energy poverty, which is substantial. And as a result of our work and our proposed initiatives, we were a winner in the National Smart Cities Challenge competition in 2019 to use smart city approaches to dealing with seemingly intractable social issues, social and environmental issues. So this is the banner under which our programming is operating. Next slide, please. And that intractable issue that we're trying to make a measurable impact on is energy poverty. And this is when households are unable to afford or access energy services in order to meet their basic needs, including for heating, cooling, lighting, and so on. And there's a number of metrics by which we can measure energy poverty, but the one that we're using for our program is if a household spends more than 5.4% of its before tax income on energy services. So that's a strong indicator of a household really struggling to fit its energy bill within its budget. Next slide, please. Energy poverty is widespread in Canada, and rates of energy poverty are particularly high in Atlantic Canada. There's a number of wonderful tools that have been published, including a website called energypoverty.ca, which I encourage you to look at. But as you can see from this map, energy poverty rates in Nova Scotia are frequently, and in New Brunswick, PI, and so on, are frequently in the 40 to over 50% range. So this is a very, very challenging situation that is systemic in nature, and therefore our perspective is we require systemic solutions to address it. Next slide, please. One of the things that we really try to do in our program is put a face on this sort of nameless, faceless challenge of energy poverty. So we have been doing a lot of research in our community to understand what does it mean to live in energy poverty, who uh, fits the profile of a household living in energy poverty, and the stats are really heart-wrenching and terrifying. We have a lot of data that we've collected on residents being cold at night, feeling unable to host other people in their home, feeling shame, and so on. There's stigma that we're trying to address by making it clear that energy poverty is something that is a community problem and something that requires community solutions. Next slide, please. Just briefly, women are more likely to be affected by energy poverty as are renters as opposed to homeowners. And it's commonly found in homes that are older, in homes that are in need of major repairs, and are often associated or correlated with mold and humidity problems. So indoor air quality, indoor environmental health, and so on is part and parcel of the energy poverty problem, as are younger and older adults, people living alone, and families with dependent children. Next slide, please. So as I said, we're trying to put a face to the nameless problem of energy poverty. And so this is an example of a persona that we've created. This is not a real person, but let's meet Evelyn. Evelyn is retired and living alone in a 1970s bungalow. Her father passed away and she was never the one to keep up with home maintenance. She doesn't know how she'll afford furnace oil this fall with the rising cost of fuel. A friend told her that there was a grant to get a heat pump, but she doesn't know anything about it. So already in that simple statement, we are encountering several potential barriers. As as has been mentioned previously in the presentation, there are many barriers to people achieving improvements to their home, and this is an example of somebody who faces multiple challenges in getting to the finish line. Next slide, please. So from a programmatic perspective, what we are trying to do with our program, Energize Bridgewater, is build on existing solutions to achieve three primary sort of structural interventions. The first one is that we work to enhance the opportunity for financial investment, so increasing access to financial capital to make home improvements. The second is that recognizing that residents experiencing energy poverty face a host of challenges, which can be related to housing insecurity and a number of other social, economic, and health challenges. We connect households in energy poverty to what are called coordinated access services. So these provide wraparound community support to residents, working with community partners in an extensive network. And then finally, we are using data from homes in order to continuously improve our solutions and drive toward better outcomes for our residents. Next slide, please. So what we're doing is, the basic energy upgrades that a typical home in our province can accommodate, that could work for that home, are not rocket science. We know that a lot of this technology is tried and tested and works, and can be combined to achieve 50 or greater % reductions in the amount of energy that the home consumes. Next slide, please. So one of the key things that our program does is stack all available funding and financing opportunities for our residents, and we do this in a really consolidated way. So we actually aggregate those funding and financing opportunities on behalf of residents. It's a very strong principle in our program that there's no cash outlay upfront from the resident. There is the opportunity for copay if desired, but really what we're trying to do is achieve this large scale capitalization in order to drive these outcomes. And as it says there, our general target is to achieve an energy spend that is 50% lower than the pre-retrofit energy spend, including the cost of any financing. And PACE is absolutely a very important part of this model, and we're pleased to work with Clean Foundation in the delivery of that part of our program service. Next slide, please. So at the end of the day, someone like Evelyn, through the combined program environment that we create, has someone to talk to about her needs in a trauma-informed, client-centric approach. She's provided with assistance in simple things like filling in forms that can be a major barrier for some individuals. We enroll her in all of the eligible programs and grants. We take care of reviewing quotes and coordinating contractors. We ensure that everything is paid for upfront, meaning no money out of pocket, and we connect her to housing support and other community services, as well as continue to work on finding systemic solutions to her and other people's challenges in this environment. We also are testing new technology in our community. Next slide, please. I mentioned that we're using data to continuously improve our services. So one of the things that we're deploying alongside our retrofit program is an advanced energy monitoring system, whereby energy data from homes as well as indoor air quality data from homes is brought together in what is going to be a community-based database that allows us to understand whether our solutions are effective. We also use the service to provide ongoing energy support to participants, so we can basically help them improve their outcomes. And my time is also nearly up, so I'll just go fairly quickly through the next couple of slides. Next one, please. We do use a smart cities approach to our work, where we basically define the solution, set up the governance, policies, and partnerships, design the technology, implement it, and test it. Next slide, please. And ensure that we are always paying close attention to things like privacy rights and security needs before launching these types of solutions. Next slide, please. We can't do this alone. Our program is generously funded with the support of the Government of Canada, the Atlantic Canada Opportunities Agency, and delivered with a number of program delivery and technology partners. Next slide, please. And all this slide is saying is that in 2024, we have a number of programmatic improvements that are coming into place. We are basically just at the beginning of starting to see some results from our program, but we are looking for ongoing program testing and evaluation in the years 2024 and 2025, with the goal of doing final evaluation on our program by early 2026, with the intent that this is something that can scale up. Thank you very much. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Leon and Katie, for your thoughtful and informative presentation. We're going to leave questions and answers to after the next presentations or set of presentations. So please feel free to use again the chat or the Q&A function to present your questions. And with that, I will pass it to Stephen Otani. Stephen, take it away.
Thank you, Stefan, and good afternoon to everyone. I'm Steve Otoni. I'm the Director of the Clean Energy Improvement Program, or CEF for short, here at Alberta Municipalities. I wanted to thank FCM for the opportunity to present, and thank you to all those who are attending today's presentation. I'll be co-presenting with Jordan Carrier from the City of Calgary. Next slide. So a little bit about Alberta Municipalities. We're a not-for-profit association founded in 1905. represent and provide services to municipalities where over 85% of Albertans live, so really great coverage. This includes towns, villages, cities. We're also the official provincial program administrator for CEEP in Alberta, and I'll talk a bit about what that means later on. We're also the lead delivery partner for the Municipal Climate Change Action Center, or the MCCAC. You likely have heard of them. They provide funding and capacity building programs for municipalities to address climate change, really targeted at municipal operations. And you can check out the MCCAC's website for more information there. Next slide. So a little bit about CEEP. In 2018, the government of Alberta passed legislation that really enables municipalities to borrow funds and loan them out to property owners, with the main purpose here to increase energy efficiency on a property or renewable generation on a property. This is known as PACE, or Property Assessed Clean Energy, across Canada and in the US. In Alberta, we call it CEEP. CEEP or PACE is, different from all other types of financing in the market, as the loan is tied to the property and not the property owner. And this is the main distinguishing factor between PACE or CEEP and other instruments out there. So Katie talked about the benefits of PACE in her presentation, but I just really want to emphasize one really important feature here is that property owners don't know how long they're going to be in their home. And as a result, they may be reluctant to invest in energy efficiency or renewable energy upgrades, especially upgrades that can last beyond 25 years, like solar PV. And as a result, they may not be able to, fully realize the benefits of those upgrades. So with CEEP, they have the comfort knowing that if their property were to sell, the subsequent property owner would resume payment, but also continue to enjoy the benefits associated with those upgrades. And this is really why PACE was originally created. Property owners borrow their funds directly from their municipality and they repay them through their property taxes. It's a convenient, familiar repayment system for the property owner. And it's important to note that CEEP is municipality-led. So they can opt in by passing an enabling bylaw, but they are required to work or partner with Alberta municipalities to administer the program. And I'll also get into that a little bit later. So, this is really a central program administrator model with the main goal to encourage municipal participation. And I think this is what makes us a little different from all of the programs that exist in Canada and even across the US. Next slide. So about the central model that I was referring to. So municipalities, as we know, often have limited capacity and resources to access climate change opportunities that might exist in the market. For example, FCM's CEF program or CEF program. And this is especially true for smaller municipalities. So the central program administrator in the CEEP model really acts as the central hub for all the key stakeholders in the program. This can include municipalities, property owners, and contractors. And that's where our role comes in. So we support municipalities from bookend to bookend. So with program design, that includes bylaw development support, because they're required to pass a bylaw to enable the program in their community. With grant application support, for example, we've been supporting municipalities applying to the CEF program, and also with program infrastructure. So all the applications, terms and conditions, all that infrastructure behind the scenes, we help build that. And of course, we lead a lot of the program administration tasks, which I'll talk about. But really, the key benefits of the centralized model is that municipalities don't need to hire a whole suite of energy efficiency and renewable energy experts. They just need to leverage their existing systems that they have in place. For example, recording the cost of an upgrade on the property tax roll and collecting repayment. This creates obviously a lot of efficiencies in the market, as materials don't need to be replicated each time a municipality wants to launch a program or participate. The program design is meant to be, to whatever extent possible, universal across the board between municipal programs, with sometimes a slight variation of 5% depending on the municipality's goals. It also creates clarity for contractors, as the program is similar in the experience across the province. So a solar contractor participating in the City of Calgary program will have a very similar experience in the City of Leduc program. And this really encourages contractor participation because they don't want to learn new rules, new forms every time they have to work with the property owner. So I think when you put this all together, this leads to quick ramp up. So given materials and the infrastructure is mostly all developed, the lead time to get to market for municipalities, greatly reduced. It also leads to quick results with big impact. So, in January 2022, we had just one program in market. And now we currently have 18 programs, and this is all just under 2 years. Next slide. So on this slide, I'm listing all the administration tasks associated with a CEAP or a PACE program. On the left-hand side, you have municipality tasks, and on the right, you have the program administrator tasks. I'm not going to cover all of these, but I did highlight in blue sort of what the core tasks are of each party. And on the left, for the municipality, they're responsible for verifying that the applicant is in good standing with respects to, property tax payments, maybe utility payments. And as I mentioned before, they have to record and collect the property tax, the clean energy improvement tax from the property owner. And then on the right-hand side for the program administrator, so for our team, we're responsible for onboarding all contractors that come through the program. That's a legislated obligation. We do all the technical application reviews, making sure all the projects are either increasing energy efficiency or generating renewables and are compliant. We do project verification. Sometimes we go on site, but we collect all the proof of installation, photos, invoices, and the such. And we also handle all the front-facing customer service, either with property owners or with contractors. And the main takeaway here is, when you look at this picture, when you look at both columns, this would be a lot for a single municipality to take on their own, especially for smaller municipalities. So having a central program administrator really makes it more realistic for municipalities to pursue a PACE or a CEAP program. Next slide, please. Okay, so impacts, or who are we working with? So we're working with over 50 municipalities that have expressed interest in moving forward with CEAP. 28 municipalities have passed CEAP bylaws, which covers about 65% of the population in the province. So we have, again, really great coverage there. Through those bylaws, approximately $50 million have been committed as financing to lend out to property owners. As I mentioned before, we have 18 programs in market. So that's the column on the far right. It's missing the town of Stettler because they actually launched the program just this week. But in those programs, we have over 700 active projects, over 400 qualified contractors, which means really good consumer choice. And this is really the quickest ramp up of PACE programs that we've seen across the country. And it's really positioned Alberta to be a national leader in this space, especially when you think about the time frame of this activity within the last 2 years. I think what we're really most excited about looking at this is the variety of municipal participation. So, we have the City of Calgary with a population of over 1 million with a CEAP program, but we also have, for example, the town of Westlock with a population of under 10,000 who's participating. And that really gives us confidence that our model in Alberta is working, that we have that variety. And we know we can't do this alone. We have partners, so that's all of our municipal partners that are listed on this page and those who are just starting with us. And of course, the government of Alberta for all their continued support, and also for FCM through their support working with them on the CEF program. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Jordan, who's going to speak more about the local experience with the City of Calgary's CEAP program. So over to you, Jordan.
Thank you very much, Stephen. So yes, my name is Jordan Carrier, and I am excited to present an overview of Calgary's Clean Energy Improvement Program. And as Stephen was doing before, I will be referring to this program as CEAP throughout the presentation. Next slide, please. So why offer this program? There's kind of three main reasons that are listed on the screen here. So in November of 2021, Calgary City Council declared a climate emergency. Nearly 70% of Calgarians are concerned about climate change related impacts. And with the passing of the climate emergency declaration, that gave grounds for staff to start working on climate related programming. CEF was a clear front runner because, as Stephen said, there was that provincial momentum, and municipalities in Alberta could implement their own version of CEF programming relatively easily. The residential building stock also accounts for a third of community-wide GHG emissions, so we did want to target that as a sector for programming. And CEF financing does provide some unique advantages compared to other traditional rebate and incentive programs, meaning that it is more sustainable because it is circular. So the city gives out loans and then homeowners repay those loans. Next slide, please. So program objectives, we do have three main goals when offering CEF. The first is to support energy efficiency and renewable energy upgrades in our residential sector. There are many barriers that have already been discussed, mostly around capital. So we want to design a program to relieve some of those barriers and at the same time also increase knowledge on energy efficiency within Calgary. Obviously, reduce energy use, energy costs, and greenhouse gas emissions as a goal. And then more generally to help grow the economy around renewable energy and home renovations in the Calgary region. Next slide, please. So we are highlighting some key program features here. Stephen did touch on a lot of operating features, but just getting down to the nitty-gritty of what Calgary is able to offer is up to $50,000 in financing, and that comes with a 10% incentive that is capped at $5,000, and that incentive is for every project that is approved. We are also able to provide a contractor with a 20% deposit upfront. And then we have different financing costs. So professional service financing is for EnerGuide evaluations. Both pre and post evaluations are required to participate in the program, and we can provide some financing for that. Incidental cost is capped at 15% of the total project cost, and that's for any sort of supporting work that needs to be done in order to achieve the energy upgrade. An example could be replacing some roofs for solar panels. We could finance up to 15% of that cost. And as Stephen was saying, this is tied to the property, which is a unique aspect of CEF, and participants will repay through their property taxes. Another tidbit that's not really on this slide, but we do pay the contractors upon project completion, so the participants don't need to kind of front that cost. Operating side, we already got into that. One key there, though, is we have implemented intake rounds, which I will get into later. Next slide, please. So we did want to share some challenges and successes with the group here today. Some of them can go both ways, like the extremely high interest in the program. So this is a challenge both for the municipality and for participants. On the municipality side, when the program was being designed, the projections for uptake have been far exceeded, and that has led us into having to control intake through intake rounds. The next round will be early April, and we'll be accepting 150 new pre-qualifications, and it is pretty competitive to get into. So that's also a challenge for participants. With limited spots, such high uptake, it is becoming a competitive program. We are also seeing that participation is not quite equal across the city. As of March, we do have agreements in every ward of the city, but there are still some pockets where we see most of the agreements coming from. Time and knowledge to participate for participants is quite significant. EnerGuide quotes, applications, etc. Obviously, we do have some support, but it still is a pretty big commitment for a participant. And homeowners' plans sometimes don't meet the eligible upgrades for financing. So obviously there's a difference between home renovations and energy upgrades. We do have that incidental cost piece, but sometimes that does not account for the total work that the participant wants done on their property. We also like to count the high interest in the program as a success because it does give us grounds to continue the program. It does show that Calgarians want energy efficiency financing programs. Program support is also available to participants. So as Stephen was saying, Alberta municipalities is that kind of front point for contacts, but the city is able to help participants as well. We have a general program email account, and participants can also call 311 or general line and speak with city representatives for questions. We offer low interest rate and long repayment terms. For 2023, the interest rate was 2.95%. We are reevaluating for 2024, but we anticipate that it will still remain low. And repayment terms are based on the upgrade that is being installed, but it can go up to 20 years. And we are seeing some high energy savings and GHG reductions, which I'll get into on the next slide, please. So this is Calgary as a snapshot. All of these numbers are as of March 1st, 2024, but we have seen over $4 million committed in financing, and that is to 152 projects. 50% of properties in CEP are completing multiple upgrades, which is leading to deeper retrofits, which is always a good thing. We have approved over 300 upgrades, and the average financing per property is just under $27,000. Based on EnerGuide data to date, so that was 69 completed EnerGuide evaluations, 30% on average emission reductions are occurring in CEP properties, and there's some more stats there, but I will go to the next slide because there is also a video I want to share. And this video will kind of introduce a homeowner and contractor perspective of the program, if we can play that now.
Calgarians have a new financial tool to support energy efficiency and renewable energy upgrades to their properties. We talked with one of the first homeowners and contractors to take advantage of the Clean Energy Improvement Program.
So what a lot of Calgarians aren't aware of is that Calgary actually has one of the best solar resources of major cities in the country and North America. So the CEP program and the Greener Homes Grant program are all super important for our business. They just fundamentally open up the market and access to individuals and homeowners that previously thought that these solar projects, solar panels were unattainable. So it's all about affordability, attainability, and removing barriers to access. So these programs do just that. They offer long-term financing at affordable rates. So it's absolutely doing the job. The industry's been looking forward to this program for a long time, and to see it come to fruition is really quite monumental.
Well, I'm doing a deep energy retrofit on my home, so I'm targeting to be net zero. So it basically was the top up to take my project all the way through to completion. Well, it's important for governments at all levels to invest in it because sometimes it just comes down to the dollars, and you need to incentivize new things. They kind of accelerate the adoption of new technology. So I think that financial component is super important.
Calgarians have a new...
Thank you for sharing that video. I think it's a good testimonial from both a contractor and participant perspective, especially within the solar region. And you can kind of tell that it is a bit dated with that reference to the Greener Homes Grant Program. This is my last slide, and we're just talking about the future of CEP in Calgary. So with the extremely high interest and uptake, we are having our last CEF-funded intake round in 2024. And we're also currently working on designing a commercial version of this program, as well as recapitalizing the residential stream. In 2025, we anticipate to launch the commercial program, and the residential program will be relaunched under a different capital model. And by 2025, we anticipate that our full CEF funding will be committed. And we do really believe that this program will extend into the far future. So we have 2026 and beyond of just continued program implementation for both residential and commercial CEAP. Next slide, please. So thank you, FCM, for having Calgary present the program today, and everyone for being here. And I think I was actually the last presenter as well. So with that, I will wrap it up.
Thank you very much, Stephen and Jordan. I'm going to invite the presenters to turn on your cameras and to unmute yourselves, and just opening up the floor for Q&As from participants. But to start things off, I think, Katie, at the beginning, you mentioned some of the barriers to homeowners when accessing these programs, and I think there throughout the presentations we saw some different barriers and different reasons why people participate in these programs and why people don't participate in these programs. But I'd love to hear your thoughts around the role that municipalities and their partners have in terms of increasing trust and building those relationships with homeowners, especially as Katie, you mentioned, potential scammers or different projects. So how do you build that trust with homeowners to increase uptake? Because you've all clearly shown that you have successful programs.
Yeah, I mean, I can jump in and start. I think a big part is having the municipality sharing the information about the program. We've clearly seen that makes a huge difference. So what we're able to do on our end with the funding through yourselves at the CEF fund, sorry, we were able to hire someone to spend full time on marketing and communications. So they will put together marketing and communications, but we add the municipal logos in. We also share packages with the municipalities, again, aware that not all of the municipalities we're working with have communication staff or the time to put into creating those posts or newsletter items or emails themselves. So we'll provide all of the content that's needed and are happy to edit that as needed, but really encourage the municipalities to share as much as they can.
Thanks, Katie. Anyone else want to add something?
I'll maybe just mention when it comes to consumer protection, that's a big part of our legislation here in Alberta. So we have items built in there. For example, contractors have to adhere to defined regulations and marketing practices. They have to agree to those terms before they participate. We have project financing maximums in place in a variety of ways. You can't more than double your property taxes. We actually have a hard cap of $50,000 per residential projects, for example. We, the program administrator, were required to explain all the financing agreements with the property owners, so we have to meet them and walk them through all the terms and conditions of what they're getting involved in, what the repayment looks like, what the interest is. We also apply a buyer's right to cancel, so a property owner can cancel an agreement at any time within 10 days. Mortgage lender consent is required. Property owners have to have a property tax history of 5 years to demonstrate that they've been able to pay their property taxes with the municipality. And with our program, the municipality is the lender and the program administrator is the oversight body for projects. So there's no conflict of interest when we review projects to push anything out the door. Our sole role is to focus on compliance with the project and ensure whatever gets put on the property tax roll is in fact increasing energy efficiency, is generating renewables, and we have some confidence that the property owner can repay that amount.
Thank you, Stephen. And I guess, jumping on that, there's also the conversation around like energy coaching and offering that support and that hand holding. I'd love that to hear what you think about the the staff need or the sort of the administrative support required to handhold someone through a retrofit journey or through the journey of upgrading, and the demands, so sort of like the supply and demand of that, and what it would take to have that kind of support to ensure that homeowners are supported throughout the whole journey. Again, for the town of Bridgewater, having like debt to savings ratio is like you clearly need a lot of resources to communicate that to every single homeowner. So how do you ensure that those resources are available?
I can start with this one. So yeah, we do find, especially because our target like core audience is actually folks that have significant barriers to participating in retrofit programs. I think that there is definitely room for like a spectrum of services and a spectrum of sort of level of hand holding out there for guiding people through processes. We are very far on one end of that spectrum, and we're trying to test that model to document what it means to the to residents. What we have found is that it is a significant level of effort. It's a level of effort by multiple people and organizations. We have a central coordinator who is in touch with the household from start to finish in the project. For example, like that's a known face to them that they can come back to.
Thank you very much, and have a great rest of your day.